Blindness may be the price I pay for the God Emperor's sacred touch, but I see more than you can possibly imagine. I see worlds rolling countless and wondrous beyond. I see colors and sights that would burn your mind to cinders by the merest glimpse. I see them lurking in the spaces between realities, their claws ever scratching to get in, ever wanting. No, it is you who are truly blind, ignorant and imperiled as a helpless child in the blackest night with ravening wolves all around. For they are here, right now around us, and you cannot see. In the dark, in the light it matters not, for they see you, and they hunger.
The Imperium of Man encompasses vast domains which span the incredible expanse of the galaxy. Trillions of souls maintain military strongholds, agri-worlds, trade routes, and untold active war zones, requiring a network of communication beyond the comprehension of a mortal mind. For today, we shall elucidate the warp-manipulating mutants which bind their very essence to the master of mankind, the psychic messengers of the Imperium, the Adeptus Astra Telepathica. With the conclusion of the Unification Wars of Terra, following years of bloodshed made in the name of the Emperor, the Master of Mankind turned his attentions to the stars in his quest to reunite humanity under a single banner. During the era of the Age of Technology, mankind had harnessed the talents of psychers to expand humanity's domains, though no records remain of the manner in which they were utilized. Overseeing the construction of a great navigational beacon, the Astronomicon, to set ablaze within the darkness of the void. All would know the glory of Holy Terra from its divine light, fueled by the Emperor's immense psychic power. Searing through the obfuscating tides of the warp, the aristocratic mutant class, known as the Navis Nobilitae, charted courses using the Astronomicon's position, facilitating swift traversal across the galaxy. Yet the Master of Mankind could not be confined to such a mundane task indefinitely, for many great ventures required his personal intervention, not least of all the spear tip of his great crusade to reclaim the dominions of the stars. To that end, new organizations were established, the Adeptus Astronomica and the Astra Telepathica, branches of the Imperium's bureaucracy tasked with maintaining interstellar telepathic communications between far-distant star systems. Wary of the dangers present with entrusting a cabal of psychers with such an important duty, the Emperor himself had slain many a Witch King upon Terra's soil to prevent the spread of chaos, but knew in his heart that without such mutants, his vision could never be achieved. Communing using empathic transmissions and phantasmic visions, these strange beings inhabited a bespoke section of the Imperial Palace known as the City of Sight, harnessing their abilities from the forsaken towers of this strictly guarded fortress. Bereft of the glorious architecture typical of the Emperor's domains, beyond the obsidian arch of its utilitarian iron-wrought spires, vacant thoroughfares and lightless garrets bore stark contrast to the silent city's gaudy surroundings. Its streets empty due to the Astropath's travel network routes below the city's surface, the embrace of sunlight too great a luxury to feel for this isolationist creed. The city's foundation, laced with psi-disruptive crystals to lessen the rampant psychic noise of emotion and thought polluting the surface, the telepaths, though capable of tuning out the din of humanity's collective psychic miasma, preferred to distance themselves within the calm of the underground. Dispatched to serve among starships, imperial strongholds, and every fiefdom of the Imperium, without astropaths, humanity would have no viable means to exchange information, maintain trade routes, analyze battle reports, and monitor ongoing threats to its domains. The city's whispering tower, predating the construction of the Astronomicon, the cognosymphs of its amphitheater, served as humanity's prior means to communicate to the fulcrum of its birth. Now little more than a repository for the vast dream library known as the O Nero Critica, Alcera Mundi, bountiful dream libraries, vision logs, and disorganized ramblings fill its archives to bursting. The Siege of Terra, ruining much of the outer palace which housed the City of Sight during the 31st millennium, the precincts would be rebuilt which now houses the Astra Telepathica's new base of operations, the Obsidian Keep. Recording every message to have ever been dispatched to Holy Terra, their exhaustive library is constantly revised as clarification of prior visions or fact-checked events add to the endless piles of administrative inconsequentialism. Required to maintain choirs outside the domains of the Throne World following the civil war of the Horus Heresy, with the breach of the Imperial Palace by Magnus the Red's psychic meddling, untold millions of astropaths suffered mental immolation as miniature warp storms racked Terra's surface. The endless hastened messages of rabid malevolence, pleadings for salvation, and reports of planet-wide disaster clogged the Cryptaphesians' encrypted channels of communication, required armies of scrutinizing administrators to root out sympathizers to Horus's cause. No longer willing to concentrate such a large contingent upon Terra for risk of once more suffering horrendous casualties and infrastructural damage, the choirs of the Astra Telepaths now maintain an interconnected network across the stars to minimize potential risk. Though should a single choir be besieged by Xenos or the ruinous powers, their connection is cut from the greater whole. Their deaths an acceptable sacrifice, should it prevent the influence of the enemies of the Imperium from spreading. Finding solace within the Gallery of Mirrors, wherein to this day aspirants conduct the ritual of soul binding. All who survive such a trial are cleansed body and soul of chaotic influence by the Emperor's own psychic light, as their neural architecture is restructured to resist the call of ruination. Often physically blinded should they survive such an ordeal, an astropath's ability to peer into the warp, though galvanized, can incur further related issues, such as loss of hearing, touch, and smell. Now intertwined with the Master of Mankind, the Soulbound of Terra benefits from the protection of humanity's God Emperor, maintaining the Throne World's utmost important communion with the vast domains of the Imperium. Frail of body, following their soul binding, and often exhausted with the mental exertion being exposed to the energies of the warp, astropaths are infamously short-lived, with only those of great mental fortitude surviving to old age. Becoming psi-sick should they not exercise their abilities regularly. Astropaths cannot be left idle, though such are the demands of the Imperium's war effort. Such an affliction is rare in the extreme. Exceeding the capabilities of Voxcaster technologies, which require multi-year trajectories to be transmitted between planets, astropaths can communicate near instantaneously with their peers at the cost of severe exhaustion. Utilizing methods ranging from the Emperor's Tarot, vision quests, seance-like communions, trances, and other mysterious rituals, some peculiar traditions, such as those used by the Gowlist astropaths of Redin, etch messages onto sheets of iron, producing scripts of pure clarity, costing great anguish to their makers due to the need to destroy such arts upon completion of their duties. Receiving messages, often in the form of dreams or portentous visions, whether through signs embedded in fish entrails or billowing clouds of smoke, the methods of these strange diviners are as unknowable as the core elements of the Immaterium. Flavoring their messages using personalized symbols, it is by no means rare for astropaths to transmit what otherwise might seem to be gibberish to the untrained eye, often retrieved in locations far from their intended destinations. Despite the efforts of charting ships and Administratum Census gathering such psychically gifted mutants, astropaths, whatever their appointment, are always in short supply, those within the domains of the fringes of the Imperium suffering the worst. Forever on the back foot when responding to threats, the Imperium struggles to address even the most critically important aggressors to its domains promptly. Whether sealed within sterile soundproof quarters or ostentatious warded caverns, astropaths must meditate to dull the material realm around them, to cleanse their mind prior to conversing. Often drifting into hypnotic states surrounded by incense, candles, and iconography of the Master of Mankind, astropaths, when relieved of distractions, can be suspended from ceilings, exposed to extreme environmental temperatures, or made to ingest poisonous concoctions to better heighten their state of consciousness. Garbing their messages in esoteric wards known as shrouding, such protections prevent errant warp entities gorging important information as it transits through the Immaterium, preventing the scent of panic or frantic haste from enticing interlopers to meddle with their psychic transmissions. The most cunning warp entities, heretic sorcerers, and Xenos scryers delight in twisting the narrative of astropathic messages to confound their recipients. encoding their messages using mental ciphers known only to the Astra Telepathica. Messages often are not formed of sentences or paragraph structure, but rather psychic puzzle boxes laced with hymnals to repel heretical interceptors. Such efforts taking as little as 5 hours to as long as an entire solar day, Imperial authorities, despite their contempt for such methods, can do nothing to hasten proceedings should they wish for communication to remain uncorrupted. Projecting their thoughts into the warp as a signal, an astropath's psyche is open to invasions of demonic possession, insanity, or nerve-induced overstimulation. Choosing whether to send the message with focused precision to a specific choir or broadcast as a more vague projection, the more direct an astropath's message, the greater the risk of disaster. The Emperor's soulbound, capable of resisting many of the risks inherent with such communication. Some astropathic choirs must do without the Emperor's blessing, due to their hastened need for appointment far from Terra's grace. The most proficient soulbound of the Master of Mankind, Astropath Transcendent. These psychers who have lived a full lifetime tethered to the very essence of the Emperor, is all but invulnerable from the presence of chaos. Truly one in a million who has escaped the great tithe of the Golden Throne, faced the horrors of the ruinous powers unflinching, and bonded with the God Emperor's very soul. Such individuals serve at the side of the most powerful leaders of the Imperium. Remaining forthright and pure, despite countless trials to whittle down their mental stability, the mightiest of rogue traders prize such individuals to aid in their pursuit of spoils, due to their unimpeachable reputation. In order to corral the psychic potential of these volatile mutants, strict methods are employed to prevent the forces of chaos from destabilizing the Imperium. Capturing aspirants using the fell league of black ships under the command of their all-female military branch, the Departamento Investigatis. These pariah warriors, known colloquially as the Sisters of Silence, are the perfect means to incapacitate potentially dangerous psychers. Their psychic dampening aura, caused by their lack of presence within the warp, these witch seekers, since the days of the Great Crusade, have ferried psychers to the throne world for processing. Culling those deemed too far gone, minutes after locating psychers too unstable to confine. The Null Maidens work closely with the Ordo Hereticus, who oversee regular psyker purges upon all fiefdoms of Imperial space. Predicting the number of psychers likely to arise within each generation of a planet's population, the Astra Telepathica has noted continued growth every year and informs the Inquisition of planets which fail to offer acceptable tithes. The Psychic Awakening, further spreading the mutation of human psychers across the galaxy. For a world to not have substantial psychers within their midst is of great concern, often due to the pernicious threat of psycults. Dominating large portions of a population, using their mastery of the warp, unfettered by the constraints of the Emperor. Heresy runs rampant should such servants of chaos abuse their powers for their own selfish desires. Escaped psyker slaves, wreaking havoc when freed from their drug-induced confinement. Such victims are ripe for demonic possession, which the Daughters of the Abyss must remain vigilant to quell. Those not sacrificed to the Golden Throne to prevent the light of the Astronomicon from being extinguished are trained within the Scholastica Psychana, each aspirant learning to control their manipulations of the Immaterium. Tithing a portion of such recruits to the Inquisition, Adeptus Arbites, or more specialized Schola Progenium, the bulk of those who remain are evaluated for suitability to soulbind with the Emperor. Those proven to be combat capable train as primary psychers. Should they survive 5 years of tutoring within the Scholastica Psychana, they shall be diverted to train as Space Marine librarians, Primaris psychers, inquisitors, or on rare occasions, aspirants for the chapter militant of the Ordo Malleus, the Grey Knights. Primary psychers of great worth may one day ascend to the rank of an inquisitor, and on rarer occasions may one day serve upon the black ships which once ferried them to Terra. Their debt to the Astra Telepathica, who spared their lives, repaid with unimpeachable service to the Imperium. Secondary psyker levies form the bulk of the astropaths, its most promising primary psyker graduates sent to the Adeptus Astronomica to maintain the crucial task of manning the Imperium's solar beacon. Watched closely within the infamous Whispering Tower, guarded by Black Sentinel jailers, these specialist psyker killers clad in obsidian armor wear psi-shielded helmets to prevent their manipulation by their charges. gifted with a range of psychic powers as benefits of their mutation. The potential of a member of the Astrotelepathicus abilities are limited only by the constraints of human imagination. Most obvious of their powers is their astral telepathy, a means to send and receive messages across the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Requiring immense concentration, ritual preparations, and removal from all distractions. Though no astropath can freely communicate at will instantly, its most proficient exemplars are not noted for their speed, but clarity and protection of their signals. Capable of convening with worlds, solar systems apart within mere moments, the strongest astropaths can transmit messages across entire segmentums within weeks. Should their safety be at risk, such powers can be refined into an ability simply known as Smite, allowing an astropath to transfer bolts of psychic lightning from their fingertips to ravage their aggressors. Able to impart terrifying visions directly into the minds of mortals, these distilled images of unspeakable torment often cause their enemies to flee in terror. Unleashing the gaze of the Emperor, should their soulbind prove sufficient, astropaths can imbue immaterial essence within the confines of their bodies and blast a grain of the Emperor's psychic energy from their eyes. Constructing psychic barriers woven from immaterial energies to protect themselves and their allies, astropaths can also cast Night Shroud cloaks to conceal themselves in shadow. Capable of protecting mental as well as physical well-being, their mental fortitude shields the minds of their allies whilst imparting a dramatic improvement of morale. Their psychic maelstrom, the last of the Astrotelepathicus conventional teachings, the scions of its creed can cast telekinetic tempests to lift enemies from the ground before hurling them like marionettes. Employing a variety of psychic abilities during void combat, astropaths are an invaluable tool to any captain of a voidcraft of war. Controlling the mind of wayward shipgunners should their focus wane, astropaths are also able to summon flash fires to disorient enemy starships. Shrouding their vessels with illusory warp-woven shadows using the Dark Labyrinth technique, astropaths can also mask the void, which creates doppelganger ship maneuvers to confuse their enemies. Sowing discord through enemy confines by spreading ill-omen anxiety through the hearts of the crew, astropaths can also bolster their own crew with fearlessness using the Unnatural Resolve ability. Preventing damage to their ship using psychic deflection to parry incoming fire, astropaths can also snuff out infernos which arise during battle using their Quell Flames technique. Disciples of the choirs within the Coronus Expanse experiment with their abilities beyond the oversight of Terra's gaze, developing powers such as the Void Frost Discipline, which draws from psychic resonance, allowing the user to survive unprotected within space. Learning to embrace emptiness by wrapping their bodies with the ice-cold embrace of the void. Users lower their body temperature, allowing for metabolically induced comas, preventing their deaths by exposure, bleeding, starvation, and even a lack of oxygen for solar days. Their quest for warmth, allowing such astropaths to locate the nearest signs of sentient life. Masters of the Void Frost Discipline are capable of draining warmth from both objects and living entities, leaving icy trails between themselves and their victims, which can be formed into cages. The most aggressive scions of such a breed, capable of breath-stealing barrages, using concentrated bolts of energy. Such frigid manifestations can travel long distances to destroy their foes. Isolated astropaths adopt the teachings of the Black Sheep, their mastery of the nature of isolation, harnessed to inflict thoughts of hopeless nihilism into their victims. The methods of void substantiation, only usable by strong-willed psychers, such individuals can not only survive comatose within the void of space, but actively maneuver within it, its use compatible with also surviving toxic environments. Able to freeze the soul of their opponents with only a stare, ice fills the veins of their victims as solar days of excruciating void exposure wrap their bodies within moments. The teachings of the Soul Ward discipline, cited as another prominent deviation fostered within the Coronus Expanse. These powers further galvanize each astropath's connection to the Master of Mankind. Benefiting from the Emperor's guidance, which enables the fortification of morale among the allies of the Psyker's presence, the Emperor's divine will imbues his subjects with renewed strength. To know thy place focuses an astropath's convictions on their duty, projecting an aura of the Emperor's light to distract their foes as the heresy's price claims its due. Offering a prayer known as the Bastion of the Imperium, An Astropath's soul binding protects their allies from harm, whilst the Chorus of the Righteous causes iconography of the Imperium to shine with golden light, further bolstering their resolve to fight in his name. The Strength of Truth manifests the caster's faith, further fortifying their allies' mental resolve, whilst their enduring faith ability is said to abolish the need for rest, allowing for choirs to serve their purpose uninterrupted for Terran years. Punishing betrayers of the Imperium with a corona of light, known as the Reward of the Renegade, their treason made against the Master of Mankind allows an Astropath to turn the powers of the wicked against themselves, whilst the Emperor protects them from its malevolence. Their Glory to the Just, bestowed by the Emperor personally to his greatest subjects. Those blessed by his grace are said to slow the flow of time around them and dispatch the opponents to his will. Finally, of the soul-binding techniques is the Call of Faith, enabling superhuman constitution to infuse the bodies of its user with immaterial energies to bolster their endurance. Needed to facilitate communications for Space Marine chapters, Astra Militarum regiments, rogue traders, administratum supply stations, planetary governing bodies, and numberless authorities within the Imperium, Astropaths are crucial for the continued survival of humanity. Led by choir masters Telepathica, the choirs of these psychers commune with the collective consciousness of the Imperium, gathering pertinent intelligence as they brave the storms of the void. Working in tandem with shipmasters, navigators, and military officers, whether alone within a rogue trader voidcraft or as part of an astropathic chamber, it is wise to always maintain additional astropaths due to the dangers incurred from delving into the Immaterium. Madness, rampant as a source of fatalities, those astropathic choirs who perform admirably for extended periods of time are assigned to more specialized postings. Only proven veterans allowed to command an entire choir. Such experienced astropaths also assigned to serve within elite branches of the Administratum, Inquisition, Adeptus Arbites, Astra Militarum, and Adeptus Astartes. The most venerated of their craft are permitted to return to Holy Terra to train new aspirants within the Scholastica Psychana. Typically assigning choirs primarily by virtue of their proximity to where they are needed, choirs on the periphery of the Imperium's domains serve within Imperial Navy contingents. Those who endure continued service, ideal candidates for rogue traders due to the need for individuals rather than groups. The so-called Maw of the Calixus sector, guarded by the vast void station known as Port Wanda, as the last frontier of civilization within reach of this perilous expanse of space. The port benefits from among the largest choirs active outside the bounds of Terra. Its proximity to the Coronus Passage, constantly harried by a permanent warp storm known as the Screaming Vortex, the rift causes intense strain on the minds of its astropaths, requiring constant influxes of replacements to replenish their losses, causing regular lapses in communication. The settlement of Footfall, far from the light of the Emperor, does not comply to the rule of the Adeptus Terra, recruiting unorthodox astropaths into the fold. Their choir, known as the Pit of Voices, comprised of masterless renegades, outcasts, and mentally damaged astropaths, resulting in a choir which is a far cry from their contemporaries. Always at risk of assassinations ordered by various underworld crime organizations, the rabble of rejected Scholastica Psychana aspirants, though not of the caliber of their successful peers, are nonetheless a valuable asset within this tumultuous region of space. The explorator fleets of the Mechanicus of Mars, seconding astropaths to way stations as they venture into the heart of the unknown. Surrounded by mind-wiped servitors and taciturn tech priests, such postings are among the loneliest existences imaginable. Often surrendering to madness due to prolonged isolation, transcribing strange binary-coded messages surrounded by soulless drones. Never is an assignment to serve alongside the Mechanicus met with delight by the Astra Telepathica. Those dispatched to astropathic relays, benefiting marginally better by their surroundings. Each and every solar day, hundreds of astropaths give their lives to keep communications active, as the overwhelming data burns them out. Knowing that untold millions of lives rely on such relays, the Imperium takes no second thought in overtaxing their astropaths. Those who survive, calloused to the inevitable cost of lives, and made stronger through their toil. Colony choirs, by far the most preferred appointment for an astropath to undertake. These fiefdoms, often founded by rogue traders, often last as little as a solar decade before collapsing. While prosperity holds, such choirs benefit from safety and security should they not expose themselves to dangerous environmental hazards, or be unfortunate to be standing upon long-buried doom worlds. Beset from all manner of threats, on occasion, such as Xenos raiders, cultist uprisings, or imperial reprisal, only the richest rogue trader dynasties possess the wealth required to house, or acquire even, a small choir. Often relying on the most depraved astropaths, who have never even beheld the majesty of the throne world, the eruption of the Great Rift separating the Imperium's domains has further exacerbated the abilities and need for astropaths. She raised the deck in her adapted hands and deftly shuffled the cards with the speed of an automated credit counter. The beautifully worked, wafer-thin slivers of crystal flying between her articulated digits and arranging themselves into an esoteric order potent with eldritch potentialities and possibilities, known only to capricious whims of fickle fate. It could take centuries to master the Emperor's Tarot, to learn every combination of cards, every subtle nuance of meaning, read every play of warplight on the psychoplastic impressed images. Time few practitioners were ever graced with. One scribe artist would labor his entire lifetime lovingly handcrafting a single card. The deck of 78 cards on the plinth in front of the seer was itself worth a planetary governor's ransom. Laid out in their entirety, the cards formed an allegorical image of the entire Imperium, a realm that spanned 1 million worlds and untold billions of souls, its heroes and its enemies. In the Emperor's Tarot, there were cards representing the champions of mankind, including the noble warrior who was prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice in his service to the Imperium, the superhuman space marine brother of the mighty Adeptus Astartes, the truth-seeking inquisitor, the rabble-rousing preacher of the Imperial Creed, the shadowy, death-dealing assassin, the inspiring chaplain of the Astartes chapters, the unequivocal judge, and the warp-seeing astropath, of course. Conversely, there were also cards bearing terrible, soul-searing images depicting the myriad enemies that threaten the human race. These were the cards of the Arcana Discordia. There was the vile, faithless traitor, the sorcerous alien warlock, the disgusting mutant, and the blasphemous-tongued heretic. There was the hulking tusk-mauled form of the beast ascendant, the leering horror that was the demon, and the notoriously guileful, ambiguous character of the Harlequin, the wild card of the Emperor's Tarot. But of course, the most potent card in the Tarot was that of the immortal Emperor himself, bound within the ancient, unfathomable technology of the Golden Throne of Terra. A skillful astropath could discern the shape of things to come from a reading of the Tarot. The many paths that fate might tread in executing its grand designs could be seen in the patterns of the cards, since the pictures of their faces were psychically attuned to the constant flux of that otherworldly half-reality that existed beyond the physical universe. The warp, the immaterial, the Empyrean, the ether, the sea of souls, the realm of chaos. It was man's greatest hope, and yet also his gravest peril. Humanity's link to that realm of raw emotion, the spiritual counter-universe, enabled mankind to draw upon the infinite power that lay there, waiting to be exploited. And yet, this very presence in that place attracted the interest of predators born of mankind's own imperfect psyche. This has been a tale of the Great Imperium of Man, read by The Remembrancer. Communication is among the most valuable tools mankind has ever developed, for with conversation, ideas can be molded and emotions expressed. In a world of uncertainty, the ability to make common ground is achieved through the exchange of information, and whether imparted with speech, signs or symbols, understanding unites us in purpose. To listen is not necessarily to contemplate, nor is to speak to enlighten, for many lack the humility to communicate with the intent to do anything more than drown others in distracting noise. So be careful in your interpretation of those who you converse with, for it is all too easy to malform the intent of those who have words that, regardless of their validity, you do not wish to hear.